type of respiration. We have external and internal respiration. What do you mean by external? External, it means the exchange of gases which happen between your blood and your lung, or we can say it's between your blood and alveoli, or the blood and the atmosphere. What about internal respiration? Internal, it happens between your body cell and your blood. Now let's go to talk about the exchange of gases and how it happened and how the oxygen will be transferred and the carbon dioxide. Usually the oxygen will be carried from here, from alveoli, where we have high concentration of oxygen, to all parts of your body cell where we have low concentration of oxygen. But how that happen? First of all, we have the oxygen, it's in high concentration here in the alveoli, and the alveoli are surrounded by capillary. In these capillary that surround the alveoli or surround the lung, we have low concentration of oxygen. So the oxygen, according to concentration gradient, it will move, diffuse from high concentration to low concentration. It means it will go from alveoli to these capillary that surround the alveoli. Now, we know that the oxygen is a gas here, and this gas cannot be able to be transferred through all these parts of the body as the form of gas. So what happened to this oxygen? The oxygen will, as we said before, it's carried by RBC. How it carried by RBC? Inside the RBC, we have a protein that have ions, which named as hemoglobin. Now, the hemoglobin will bind with this oxygen and form a molecule named as oxyhemoglobin. What do you mean by oxyhemoglobin? It's oxygenated blood. So instead of oxygenated blood, I can say oxyhemoglobin or HbO8. We can find this HbO8 blood where? In anywhere that we have oxygenated blood, like in aorta as blood vessel, like in pulmonary veins, those small four veins that return the oxygenated blood to the left atrium, and also in these chambers like left atrium and left ventricle. We can say here we have oxygenated blood, or also we can say HbO8 blood or oxyhemoglobin blood. So this oxygen here as the form of gas, either it will be bind with hemoglobin in the RBC or it can be dissolved in plasma. Only 2 to 5% of this oxygen will dissolve in plasma, while mostly, which is 98 to 95%, it will be bind with hemoglobin to form oxyhemoglobin. So this reaction, which we said that hemoglobin bind with oxygen to form oxyhemoglobin, or the reaction of the formation of oxyhemoglobin, it's happened where? It's happened here in the capillary or in the blood that surround the alveoli or surrounding the lung. Now, this oxygenated blood or HbO8 blood will go toward the left atria, then to left ventricle, then it pumped through aorta to all parts of the body. Now, when it reach near the body cell, we have also again capillary that surround the body cell, and this oxygen now, it should be again, the reaction will be reversed and should be in the form of gas in order to be diffused from the capillary to the body cell. So what will happen is that this reaction will happen the opposite of it. It means the oxyhemoglobin, what will happen to it? It will be dissociate or be breaking down to form hemoglobin and oxygen. The hemoglobin is in the RBC, and this oxygen, when it separates from it, it will go through the capillary from high concentration to low concentration. It means it will be transferred from here, from the capillary or the blood cell, it go into the body cell. Why we need the oxygen to go to the body cell? Because we know inside the body cell we need it for the aerobic respiration. What do you mean by aerobic respiration? Is this process when the glucose bind with this oxygen that come here to the body cells in order to make high amount of ATP and produce the CO2 as a waste product. This reaction happen here inside the body cell, and it need the oxygen. So the oxygen will transfer from high concentration where it's in the blood here that come from here, and it go to low concentration which is in the body cell. This process, all of this process happen for the exchange of which gas? For the exchange of oxygen from alveoli into body cells that need the oxygen. So if the question asked about the formulas, we have one for the formation of HbO8, which happen where? It happen in the capillary that surround here the alveoli or surrounding the lung, while the breaking down of HbO8, it happen where? It happen in the capillary that surround the body cell. Or if you see that the oxygen as reactant in the reaction, it means the oxygen is now it's released, so it's released from alveoli, which means this reaction happen here in the capillary that surround the alveoli. While if you see the oxygen as a product in the reaction, we say that this is the last step and this oxygen should go to the body cells. Now let's go to talk about CO2 and how CO2 is transfused. It's gas exchange, sorry, for the CO2 and how it be transferred. And usually the CO2, is it in high concentration in your body cell or in your lung? Sure, it's in your lung, and sorry, in your body cell. So we will start here in the opposite direction. What happened is that during aerobic respiration, we said the CO2 is produced as waste product here inside the cell. So inside the cell or body cells, we have high amount of CO2, and this CO2 will be released from high concentration to low concentration. It means it go from body cells to the capillary that surround the body cells and then again to the blood. This carbon dioxide also here it's as a gas. It can be transferred by this form only. So what will happen to it? We have three ways for the carbon dioxide. It's either 23% of this carbon dioxide will bind with hemoglobin and transport, or 7% of the CO2 will dissolve in plasma, or mostly what will happen to this CO2? It will bind with the H2O in the plasma and form a carbonic acid. This carbonic acid it's directly dissociate into HCO3 and H positive. What do you mean by HCO3? It's bicarbonate ion, and the CO2 is transferred through this HCO3. So what that does that mean? It means now when we said that this blood here it's deoxygenated, it means this blood it's full of what? HCO3 or bicarbonate ion, because CO2 cannot be transferred here in the form of CO2. It transfer in this form mostly, which is HCO3 or bicarbonate ion. So if the question said deoxygenated blood, it's in which blood vessel, and we say that it's in superior vena cava, inferior vena cava, and the pulmonary artery. Instead of deoxygenated blood, we can also say the blood that contain high amount of what? Of HCO3 or bicarbonate ion, which is here in the superior vena cava, inferior, and pulmonary artery. Now this deoxygenated blood will travel, as we said before, from here, from body cell to the capillary, then to the through the veins, the vena cava superior and inferior. It returns to the right atrium, then to the right ventricle. From right ventricle, it will be pumped through pulmonary artery to go to the lung. But before the lung, we said from pulmonary artery, it go to pulmonary arteriole, then to the capillary. Now this capillary have CO2, high CO2, but in the alveoli, we have a low amount of CO2. So the CO2 should be transferred from the capillary that surround the alveoli into the alveoli. But how that happened? Before that, this CO2 should again be returned in the form of gas. We can't diffuse this molecule as HCO3 can diffuse through the HCO3, as we said before. It can diffuse from here, from the capillary. So again, it will return as gas, as CO2. How? By this reaction. So what will happen in the capillary that surround the alveoli is that again the H positive plus HCO3, the bicarbonate ion, will form carbonic acid, and finally they form what? They form H2O and CO2. So it's the opposite of this reaction that happened here and near the body cell. If you see the CO2 is reactant in the reaction, it means we are in the capillary that surround body cell. But if you see the CO2 is a product, it means this is the final step for the CO2 in order to go outside of your blood and go to the alveoli. Now from alveoli, by exhalation, it go to outside of your body. So we can say we have two reactions for the transfer of the carbon dioxide. This one, when the carbon dioxide bind with the water, it happen here in the capillary surrounding the body cell, while when the carbon dioxide is released as product, and the HCO3 will be breaking down again to carbonic acid, and then the carbonic acid to H2O and CO2. When the CO2 is a product, it means we are in the capillary near the alveoli or near the lung. And but pay attention please, that H2CO3, which is the carbonic acid, it's not transfer the carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide, CO2 only transfer here by HCO3, which is named as bicarbonate ion, not by carbonic acid. And this carbonic acid, it formed in both the reaction here in the reaction that happened in the in the blood of capillary that surround alveoli, and also it formed here in the capillary that surround the body cell. By the way, we have here, we said this part is for external respiration and this part for internal. So if we say that this formula, the oxyhemoglobin, is it formed in external or internal respiration, we can say it's formed in external respiration and during pulmonary circulation, because it's happened here surrounding the lung. While in the process of breaking down the HbO8 in order to form Hb and oxygen, this process of dissociating or breaking down the oxyhemoglobin, it's happened here near the body cell in order to provide this oxygen for the body cells because they need it for aerobic respiration. So we say that this reaction happened during systemic circulation or during internal, also for internal respiration. The opposite also for the carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide, we can say that this reaction when carbon dioxide it's react with H2O, it happen near the body cell, so it's in systemic circulation and internal respiration. While when the H2O and CO2 it's a product, this reaction will happen where? Will happen here in the capillary that surround the alveoli, and it's in the external respiration or during pulmonary circulation.